Okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. This is your host, Susan Rosen, and my guest today is Dr. Anthony Balduzzi. And I think I got that right.
You did.
Um, Good. And he has some interesting background and also is a naturopathic doctor. I think I got that right too. Um, and I'm going to I think I can just call you Anthony, right? We didn't even
Yes.
talk about that. I'm going to ask Anthony to introduce himself, tell us a little bit more about himself and, you know, what he's doing and what he wants to tell all of us about.
Sure.
Welcome.
I'm happy to be here. And I, as you said, my name is Anthony Balduzzi. I am a board certified naturopathic doctor in the state of Arizona, where I live. I'm a father. I have a young daughter, and I'm not yet 50, but I've truly dedicated my life to helping people, particularly busy parents in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and
Mm,
beyond, get into healthy routines, achieve a body that they love, that looks and feels great, have longevity, and live a quality life. And I got started in this basically because in my childhood, I watched my own father and my own family suffer tremendously from poor health. Like many men, my dad basically busted his butt to provide for our family and neglected his health. And I saw him slowly deteriorate. He ended up getting a cancer diagnosis and he died when he was 42 years old. So
wow.
that was my childhood, watching the man I love most in my life basically
Hmm.
wither and die. And I was 9 years
Wow.
old at the time when that happened. And as you can imagine, it's a huge experience to happen as a child to lose a parent if you haven't experienced that yourself. It ripped me open to so much pain and invited in the opportunity for a lot of healing. But it also taught me some fundamental lessons that most people don't learn until later in life. And that's that our health is the foundation of our lives and what we love. When we
Hmm.
don't take care of our health and we neglect it, we lose all these things that we care about, our ability to be with our
Yeah.
families, to pursue our passions and hobbies, to feel aligned mentally, physically, emotionally, and
Yeah.
spiritually. And so my process of healing came through exercise. A couple months after my dad passed, my mom gave me a pair of dumbbells and I started exercise. And I found that as I started to train and do these little exercises, I was healing
Uh-huh.
and
Oh, I
I was
bet. Yeah.
changing my body, my neurochemistry. And I guess you could say the exercise and fitness bug bit me. I'm like, this is magic. Like I'm getting stronger. My heart doesn't hurt as much. And I started to build myself up. And so that was the beginning process of me getting very interested in health. I think my 10th birthday was the last time I had birthday cake because in my young mind, that was unhealthy food. And I wanted to eat healthy because I wanted to be stronger than
Right.
cancer. I wanted to become strong. And that
Uh,
propelled me through first and through fitness and personal training and then
mhm.
into medicine later on. And I decided to go the naturopathic medical route because I looked at the conventional system and I actually saw what my dad went through with the cancer, the chemotherapy, and a lot of
Mm,
the stuff that was very clearly due to lifestyle that was just not being addressed at the root cause. I mean, like, it's not that we have a problem with people lacking pills. That's not the reason people have heart disease, diabetes, obesity, this huge epidemic of not being well. It's because we don't know how to manage our lifestyles. We don't know how to eat healthy, to move consistently, to do that in the context of a busy family and an aging body. So I set out to help fix that and figure that out. And I started the Fit Father Project 10 years ago in memory of my dad. And on that side, we've had over 60,000 dads in over 100 countries go through our programs and transform.
wow.
So it's been a beautiful journey. And that's why I say, although I'm
Yeah.
not 50, I've had a lot of experience helping people in their fifth and sixth and seventh onwards decades of life,
Yeah.
get healthy again. And we also have the Fit Mother Project too. We started several years later, and we've had similarly
Ah.
tens of thousands of ladies go through that as well. So I'm here to share everything that you want to ask and extract about what it takes to live a long, healthy life and make it sustainable.
Okay. Well, I like that. That's a good place to start. That's a good place to start. So, talking about starting, how do you start people? Is there some sort of
Mm-hmm.
where you have them come in and you do some sort of evaluation on where they are and what they're doing and what they're not doing and all of that kind of stuff? Is that
Well, so the cool thing about our programs is that they
mhm.
are all on facilitated online experiences. So people join from wherever they
Ah,
want, and then they come into
interesting.
our programs and our community. Myself and our coaches are in there. So we're not doing actual in-person assessment, which is
Okay.
beneficial because I wouldn't be able to have impacted as many lives as I could if I was in an office and everyone needed to come in the doors.
Right, right.
That being
Yeah.
said, where you start is a great question. I think there are certain pillars that we need to maintain as we age. We
Mm,
need the proper approach to nutrition, one that's
hmm.
personalized and sustainable. We need to move our bodies in a way that's joint friendly, age appropriate, and helps us build the muscle and improve the hormones that change tremendously in the fifth and sixth and seventh decades of life. But I
Right.
think more importantly than that, it's not just the information. A lot of us know what to do. It's the deeper levels of the psychology, the motivation, and the
Uh-huh.
mindset that needs to
Hmm.
be the base layer. So where we actually start with our clients is we help them get very, very clear on basically their mission and their why statement of why they're actually undertaking their health
Hmm.
journey. And we have them write it down. We have them get super clear on what
Good.
their core values are. We have them connect those
Yeah.
core values. How does your health relate to your ability to be a great parent or grandparent? How does your health
Hmm.
relate to your ability to experience financial abundance, spiritual alignment, to be a good member of your community? And so we help people build new neuro associations and create a written statement for why their health is important. Because what we'll find, and I know you've definitely experienced this in your life, we're all human, is that
Uh-huh.
your motivations change decade to decade.
Oh my God, yeah.
And you need to always be in touch with the right reason to be motivated. It's typically not as motivating for us when we get older and have families to like have a six pack of abs, but it is motivating to not have pain and be able to move and bend down and to have energy and sharp cognitive function. So if we can really start
Hmm.
to create those neuro associations and why our health is so important, it gives us more power to enter into these healthy habits and sustain them long term. If you miss that
Hmm.
psychological component, you're just kind of following a logical set out plan without the emotion behind it. And humans do best when we have a clear plan backed with emotion with an environment that's supportive for that change.
Oh yeah. No, I would agree. I think the emotional connection is probably the most important
Me too.
because if you don't do that, you know, people will just move on. They'll do it for a little while and then they'll
Right.
just move on to whatever's next.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So do you do these things over Zoom or
Yes.
something similar or
Well, a mix of over Zoom. We do live calls over Zoom. We
okay.
also have everything inside of like you can call it an app, but it's on the web and
Uh-huh.
mobile where all of our coaches in our team are inside the app. And there's a lot of pre-recorded
Ah,
videos and a full process
okay.
you go through, like step one, two, three, four. You just go through the mission
Mm-hmm.
statement. Step two is
Mm-hmm.
getting into the meal plan. Step three is starting to do the daily
Oh.
walking and the exercise program. And then step four is getting into the deeper layer of the accountability and the ongoing support. And we have
Oh
we
my.
start off people with a focused 30-day plan because we
Mm-hmm.
believe that there's power in having a short-term focus period to get
Mm,
up and go and get the
mm,
gears turning.
mm.
It's geared towards long-term sustainability, but just like how a rocket ship needs to store up all that fuel and blast off to get through the
Yeah,
gravitation, like so
yeah.
is our lives when we're making a health change. We need that stored up energy in a focus period. And
Uh-huh.
yeah, that's it's more or less like a high level of our approach. And I'd love to, in any way you want to take this, get into philosophies on nutrition, what works after 50, exercise after
Yeah.
50,
Oh
longevity,
yeah.
general stuff, wherever you want to go. I'm happy to go there.
All of that sounds good.
Okay.
um I would in well, I'm actually kind of torn between the eating part and the exercise
Okay.
part because I think that a lot of people don't realize that they need to change their eating habits
Mm-hmm.
as they get older, both what they're eating and how much they're eating.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I also think that exercise as you get older is so important. But a lot of us did a lot of exercise when we were younger. Maybe we're still doing that. Maybe that's too much now,
Mm-hmm.
you know? I think those two things to me are kind of like red flags for
Yeah.
people when they're moving from their 40s into their 50s and into their 60s.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe we start with nutrition and we'll get to exercise
Okay.
too.
Okay.
What I think is so powerful is like nutrition after 50
Mm-hmm.
is more important than exercise
Mm-hmm.
because you can't out exercise poor nutrition. And nutrition is
Yeah.
the kind of thing that either truly gives you health through the
Yeah.
right kinds of nutrients, through reducing inflammation, or
Mm-hmm.
it can literally be poisonous for your body when you're
Mm-hmm.
eating the wrong kinds of foods, a lot of processed foods, too much
Mm,
sugar. The
mm,
root of most chronic disease that we've had, and this is a buzzword sentence, but I'll say it because it's true, is based in blood sugar dysregulation, meaning your
Uh-huh.
blood sugars are all over the place, and you have a lot of inflammation as a result of just
Yeah.
eating foods that are inflammatory. Cancer is related to that.
Oh
Dementia and
my God.
cognitive
Yeah.
decline is related to that. Diabetes,
Mm.
higher blood pressure, plaque that's
Mm-hmm.
laid down in our arteries, hormonal
Mm.
disturbances. Okay. So I think the primacy of nutrition is massive. And it's also something that we're going to eat every day, anyways. We're not
Yeah,
necessarily
I
going to
hope so.
exercise, right? I mean, unless you're doing some fasting, which I think there is benefits to that from a longevity
Yeah, yeah,
standpoint, but
yeah.
like,
That's a whole
but I
different
mean,
issue.
it is a whole different issue. But if we
Yeah.
can just upgrade that baseline routine a little bit, that's something that
Mm-hmm.
will continue to add into your routine every
Mm.
day. And so
Mm.
my nutrition philosophy is more or less that I'm not a fan of overly restrictive diets at all. Like there's a lot of people who go on super low carbohydrate diets or super high carbohydrate
Mm.
diets. Our
Mm.
approach is more balanced and generalized.
Mm-hmm.
We believe after 50, you do not need as many carbohydrates as you once needed. So we are
Mm-hmm.
a lower carbohydrate approach to nutrition, but this still means that you can have healthy fruits that work for your body, quinoa, sweet potatoes, oats if that works for you, some organic sprouted bread. I mean, we do need to find the foods that are unique for us, but having carbohydrates in your diet, despite what the popular influencers on keto have to say, are fine and appropriate in the right quantities at the right times. Now, if
Mm-hmm.
you still do feel like you enjoy a very, very low carbohydrate plan, I think that's fine. It just typically is not as sustainable over the long haul as having something that is like a
Mm.
little more balanced.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What
Yeah.
I would suggest, what a day might look like in the life of nutrition on our programs and our approach is
Uh-huh.
wake up in the morning. First thing you do is you rehydrate 20 to
Mm.
32 ounces of water, ideally some kind of great filtered water,
Oh.
not your city tap water,
Mm.
and
Oh
adding in
yeah.
some trace minerals back into the water. That morning hydration is so important because
Mm-hmm.
aging is kind of a process of dehydration. Like our skin loses fluid and
Yeah.
elasticity, and we see that as wrinkles. Our
Mm-hmm.
spine and the discs in our spine lose hydration and we shrink a little bit, and there's more nerve
Hmm.
compression issues. And so we
Interesting.
need to really prioritize fluid dynamics and hydration. And every morning, that's
Uh-huh.
exactly what your body needs. And so that's a good kind of like affirmation. You can drink your water. It's an affirmation that today I'm choosing health. I'm getting that good
Mm.
water in. And then for your first meal, whenever you have that, whether it's an early breakfast and that works for you,
Mm-hmm.
or you wait a little bit and you do a little morning fasting is fine.
Mm-hmm.
We like to have simple, standardized, pretty consistent breakfasts. I don't think it's the kind of meal where you should be doing crazy stuff, always variety, always different, because it's the kind of time of the morning where it's all about being consistent.
Yeah.
The sun rises all the time. The birds chirp in the same kind of way. Have the same damn breakfast, right? But I
Yeah.
mean, the kinds of foods that are good, I believe, are high quality eggs, fruits,
Ah. Uh-huh.
smoothies if you want, not like too high in the sugar, but you can throw a lot of good superfoods kind of stuff in here. You
Mm-hmm.
can have some overnight oatmeal if you like to be plant based and kind of
Mm.
things, but just like dial in what your first go to breakfast is. And I'll ask you as a little pause here, Susan, do
Mm-hmm.
you have a go to breakfast that you really
Oh yeah,
enjoy?
I eat the same thing every morning.
There you go. Okay, what is it? Lay it on us.
Okay, let's see. Um, I make instead of like a tuna salad, I make a salmon salad, canned salmon.
Nice.
Um, and then it lasts me for like a week or more because I
Mm-hmm.
only take about, I don't know, about that much.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it has avocado mayonnaise,
Yes.
and it has egg, some hard-boiled egg,
Nice.
one hard-boiled egg, one can of salmon, and oh, and there's something that's called hache,
Mm.
which I buy, and we do everything organic.
Perfect.
So, but then so that I have that, I have usually somewhere between about a quarter of an avocado,
Yes.
and then I have a scoop of guacamole,
Yep.
all organic. And then I have a piece of gluten-free buckwheat bread
Okay. That's what I'm
with
talking about.
with with butter. It's the ghee
Mm-hmm.
kind of butter, and um, honey, local honey
Mm-hmm.
that I buy at the farmer's market, and excuse me, usually almond butter on top of that.
That sounds delicious. And I
Yeah.
think
And
in my perspective, go ahead.
one bigger cup than this is my second cup of coffee, and usually a cup of coffee. Yep.
Nice. I mean, what works about that, in my opinion, like from a
Uh,
nutritional standpoint, is you're getting proteins,
yeah.
healthy fats, a little bit of carbohydrate, but it's balanced out with all these great healthy fats. It's delicious. I mean, I know you get the
Yeah.
sweet flavor from the almonds and the honey on the buckwheat
Yeah.
toast, the savory from the salmon mix. You're getting a lot of vitamins, vitamin D,
Mhm.
A, D, E, K, like all of these are in there with some minerals, and you probably feel fantastic. And so
Yep.
awesome. I think people can do similar, like get a high quality piece of some sprouted organic bread. It could be gluten free, or if you can
Hmm.
tolerate wheat, fine, maybe an organic sourdough or organic
Right.
einkorn
Yeah.
bread. But something like that with some eggs and some avocado. I love the salmon salad, but like get a simple
Yeah.
breakfast, because I think the power of that is like that's like 1/3 of your meals potentially are now standardized and
Yeah.
healthy. Like that's massive. That's like just getting
Oh
that
yeah.
in the
Yeah.
mix is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And it's enough to last me,
mhm.
until usually early or mid-afternoon.
Yeah,
That's
and
when I
do
have my
do you
lunch.
do you have a yeah? So you can do the, and then I think comes down to like you can do the breakfast, lunch, dinner thing, which is
Hmm.
wonderful. You can
Hmm.
do a breakfast, lighter afternoon snack, and dinner. One thing that I
Hmm.
have found is I think it is better for people as we get older to eat a little bit earlier at night. And I think there's a lot of benefits to
Mm.
this. Is like from a circadian rhythm perspective, we have
Hmm.
a little more digestive fire when the sun is
Uh,
not down, and we can process our foods and we sleep a little
Interesting.
better at night without
Uh-huh.
having all that food in our system. So
Yeah.
I like the earlier dinner, and that might be like a 5 o'clock, maybe even 4 o'clock, and then begin a fasting period. Because when it comes to
Hmm.
nutrition, high quality food is great, but one of the things we know is really helpful for longevity is allowing the body, as long as you're getting enough protein and nutrients throughout the day, is to get into a fasted period. This breaks
Hmm.
down a lot of those old damaged immune cells, helps us regenerate and repair, and that same metabolism doesn't happen when we're a constantly fed state. So I am a fan of
Hmm.
people having a fasted period during the day, and that might be
Yeah.
like 12 hours. It could, 14 hours, whatever that is.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No, and I know that's I mean, we don't typically eat breakfast until 10:30, 11.
Yeah.
Um,
When's your
you
last meal?
know,
When's dinner?
usually I usually try and eat by 9 o'clock, finish eating by 9 o'clock.
PM?
But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But a lot of the, but most of the time it's a little earlier.
Hmm.
I
You're
usually
still getting
try
about
and
12
eat dinner
hours of the
about
fasting.
7. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And typically what we do is we get up. Um, Sometimes I record a podcast, right? While my husband's still sleeping, and and usually there are off days, like today was an off day, um, where we'll go for a walk
Yes.
and then we come back and eat breakfast.
Hmm.
So in that case, we're actually eating 11:30.
Yeah. That's a
You know,
wonderful routine.
so
That
yeah,
morning exercise before having the food. And I guess I'll,
yeah,
I'll say that is like to kind of, now we're parsing out this routine, and we'll certainly get to
uh,
exercise. A big part of living well and having a long, happy, healthy life,
mm-hmm,
nutrition's a part of it, but your overall circadian rhythm is massive. And that
mm,
doesn't just mean sleep. It means
mm-hmm,
morning sunshine too. It's
mm,
so cool how our systems are designed. Our eyes, being the literal extension of our brain,
uh,
respond to the morning sunlight. And they do so in such a way that when we
uh,
get sunshine on our skin and our eyes in the morning, between the hours of sunrise and around 10 a.m., it
uh,
causes our brains to release serotonin, which is that
hmm,
neurotransmitter that makes us feel great. It
mm-hmm,
smooths out that morning cortisol spike, and cortisol is a stress hormone that naturally spikes in
mm,
the morning. And that
mm-hmm,
serotonin later in the day is converted to melatonin. And
okay,
melatonin we've all heard of through the forms like sleep supplements and stuff like that.
yeah,
But there's new research showing that melatonin may be like the number one longevity hormone like that we know of.
ah,
It is
wow,
the cellular trigger. Every night when the sun goes down, our eyes
uh-huh,
perceive the lower light. We produce melatonin. Pretty much all of our white blood cells have melatonin receptors. Melatonin triggers the brain to clean itself through this whole lymphatic system where the brain
wow,
cleans out the metabolic debris from the day that keeps our cognition
uh-huh,
sharp. It actually works in the digestive tract to improve gut
Huh.
health and reduce inflammation, and helps with the
Uh-huh.
probiotics in the GI tract. And our immune cells that
Okay.
become senescent as we get older and become aged and damaged, melatonin helps reset them. And so it's not
Wow.
surprising that this is like the yin cycle of the yin and the yang being the active, yin being the recover.
Uh-huh.
As we get older, if we're not really managing that nighttime restoration cycle, we're
Hmm.
taxing our life, and it's a huge part
Mm-hmm.
of not being well.
Hmm. Wow. That's pretty neat. So is there, I mean, I know a lot of people, and I think I used to even take melatonin tablets or something, whatever. Um, but what kinds of food have more melatonin, or
Well,
is it just
there
from the
are
sun being
there
outside?
are foods, like, believe it or not, like dark cherries have melatonin in them,
Okay.
but the purpose is not actually to get it. You make plenty from the natural darkness at night. Your brain and your
Okay.
digestive tract makes
Okay.
plenty. The key thing is when the sun goes down and it's
Mm-hmm.
dark outside, you
Mm-hmm.
keep your house and your ambient environment darker too. This means less
Ah,
overhead blasting kitchen lights at night, less bathroom
okay.
blasting lights at night. It means using lamps, lighter, some of those warmer tones, those more
Yeah.
orange and
Yeah.
warmer
Yes.
tones. Replace your bedroom with all of those warmer lights, because those are the
Mm-hmm.
natural light frequencies that are more synonymous with that evening time, and they don't disrupt the
Mm.
melatonin production as much. And
Mm-hmm.
the truth is, if you want to get to the next level, like wearing any of those glasses or protectors that block blue
Ah,
light,
yes. I used to have some of those. Yeah.
I would urge you to make that like a non-negotiable, truly.
Mm.
If you understand the primacy and the importance of melatonin, and you do watch TV or screens or anything late at night, or you're working
Well,
on your computer,
screens, but not TV.
you're right. So
Yeah.
you're blasting your eyes with that non-native light, and,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
like that. The light is a primary input into the body, and for longevity, it's I put it up there with equal importance to food and exercise. So that's
Mm.
perhaps a revelation for some people listening to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, we have some of those. I don't have it handy. I know in the bathroom that we stick in the
Yeah, that's better.
orange lights. Yeah.
Good. And then the other thing with light is like, so light itself, and the influence of melatonin, it's also the
Uh-huh.
sunshine and its impact on vitamin D. We also know that
Ah.
your immune cells, all those white blood cells that you want to keep healthy as you age, they have
Yeah.
vitamin D receptors as well. That is not by
Ah.
accident. Vitamin D is one thing that people should optimize and check on their yearly blood work as much
Uh-huh.
as anything else. It is a hormone of longevity. Vitamin D is. It keeps your immune system strong,
Hmm.
keeps your bones sharp. And we knew from the COVID and all this stuff, the people who fared the worst had low vitamin D status, they were overweight, and typically had higher baseline inflammation levels. And so
Ah.
everything you can do to optimize vitamin D is great. And guess
Yeah.
where we make it from the sun. And what's
Uh-huh.
interesting is you only make vitamin D from the UV radiation that we've been told is super bad for us.
Ah, yeah.
And the
That we're
UV
blocking with all of our creams.
sunscreens and creams. Yes, your body only makes vitamin D from the UV. And we pretty much only get the UV when the sun is overhead and high in the sky. In the morning and the evening time,
Um,
we don't get as much UV penetration. So there's a seasonal aspect to this depending on where you live. If you're
uh-huh.
in the wintertime, I do recommend vitamin D supplementation. It's been shown to be very
Yeah.
safe, even at doses
Okay.
substantially higher than like the government currently recommends. And I think their guidelines are just like
Yeah. Their
old and
guidelines are,
outdated in terms of like what they should. So
yeah.
they say, like, if you need, they say 800 IUs, you can safely take 2,000 to 5,000 IUs every single day, long term, and be
Ah,
of great health. So
okay.
I say the light and the
Okay.
vitamin D and the melatonin,
Okay.
it's a constellation of things that are very important signals for longevity.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that's good. Yeah. Well, we get sun when we go out for our walks.
That's wonderful.
Um, and we take vitamin D as well.
That's
So,
good. And I would say whole body sun exposure, seasonally permitting, you want that sun to hit like your shoulders, your
yeah.
arms, not just covered up. But if you can get it in your eyes, it's also good too to kind of glance up and allow that input to come into your system.
Interesting.
That's like a
Okay.
more sun is good for the human system. Hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And there's a couple times
Well,
to walk. Morning walk is great. And also walking
uh-huh.
after dinner is great too, because it helps walking after any
Okay.
meal, really. It
For
stabilizes your
digesting.
blood sugar. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Huh. Yeah, we've been getting a little bit of rain lately, so it's interrupted our schedule a little bit.
Yeah. And that's why there's a season to everything, right? You have to have a health routine
Mhm.
that can adapt to the weather, and adapt to the season. So maybe what you do in the summertime is not the same routine in the wintertime. And I think
Yeah.
the people that struggle don't have the adaptability or don't create a new plan that works. It's just like, oh, I can't go out
Mhm.
and walk. It's too cold or it's too dark. So they
Yeah.
go ahead and do nothing. And that's
Ah.
a big mistake, right? Adapting and creating a new plan that works. So maybe in the wintertime, you get one of those seasonal lights that you can buy online, and
Oh,
you get
uh-huh.
that in the morning, and maybe you do a little indoor exercise. Like, you'll have to be able to flow with that, because that's what our lives are, a series
Hmm.
of years with seasons, and
Yeah.
longevity is the act of doing that well with every successive progression and year turn. And so you need to have a plan that
Yeah.
works in all instances.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And I know my husband still goes to the gym, but I dropped out a little bit because I had some arm problems.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, I mean, because that's always good too.
Hmm. For sure.
Mm,
And maybe that's a
yeah.
segue into exercise. I
Yeah, I was
mean,
going
I
to
think
suggest. Yeah.
if there's one thing that we know is a fountain of youth in terms of
Hmm.
activating your body's longevity genes, producing the
Hmm.
hormones of youth, it is exercise, and it is
Mm.
particularly strength training, which I would posit is more important for
Okay.
people over 50 than it
Uh-huh.
even is for people in their 20s. I mean, sure, people in their
Oh,
20s want to be athletic and look good to, attract a partner and all that, but when you're over
yeah.
50, this is when you need to protect your bones. This is when the
Yeah.
amount of muscle mass that you carry into old age is going to be
Hmm.
basically determine how good your metabolism is, how well your metabolism functions, because the muscles soak up so many carbohydrates and keep your blood sugar stable. So strength training is
Mm.
key. But before you get there, I think I like to draw the distinction conceptually for people that there's a difference between daily activity and formal
Uh,
exercise.
yeah.
They're different things. And the human body needs daily activity.
Hmm.
Exercise is good for longevity, but we need daily activity. If you look at the pockets of longevity around the world, the centenarian pockets where people live to 100
Hmm.
plus consistently in
Uh-huh.
communities, they're
Yeah.
not doing P90X or step aerobics, but they are gardening, they're outside, they're
Yeah.
moving, they're bending down, they're in communities, they have more active lives. And so I think, especially when we get busy and we're over 50, a lot of people say, oh, I just don't have the time for exercise. So they do nothing. But we
Right.
all have the time for daily activity, walking more, moving more, parking the car farther away, taking the stairs instead of the escalator.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, all of
Uh-huh.
these things add up, and it's
Yeah.
so important. And I want people to understand it's all about checking that movement box in some way every day.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree. Um, yeah, that's what we always try and at least go for a walk, or we got
Hmm.
stairs in the house, and going up and down those quite
Good.
quite often during the day.
That's awesome.
Um, yeah, yeah. And like I said, we go to the gym, and at the moment I have my little 2 pound weights. I've been trying to
Yeah.
build my arms back up.
That's good. And that's the thing I think of
So
over 52 is like, injuries happen, right? Our connective tissue is not as durable. Like, I know I'm like, as I mentioned, I'm not quite there age wise yet, but I've had
yeah.
a tremendous amount of injuries, through my own causing, but I've had 6 surgeries to reconstruct my right leg. I've broken my arm 5 times.
Oh
I've
my
had
God,
stem cell
you're worse than I
procedures, and
am.
for sure. Well, maybe. I mean, I'm glad, I'm grateful to know that you haven't gone through that amount of pain, but I guess
No,
it is
no,
a part of a life.
but I
And
fall. I
yeah.
fall. I don't pick up my feet. That's what I've been working on, doing
Hmm.
exercises to pick up my feet.
Well, that's good. Maybe we'll chat about that. I think I want to talk
Yeah.
about strength training, and then I want to talk about balance and
Mm-hmm.
coordination as we get older, because
Mm-hmm.
both are important aspects.
Yep.
The use it or lose it is that adage that we've all heard, and it's basically how it works with our muscles. If we don't
Yeah.
work our muscles as we age, we lose them, and it impacts us tremendously with your heart health, with your brain health, with your metabolism.
Mm-hmm.
And the good
Mm-hmm.
news is you don't need to be strength training every single day. Like, once or twice a week
No.
is sufficient of a
Yeah.
stimulus to tell your body, oh, we got to like work on preserving and building some muscle. You pair that
Mm-hmm.
with that good higher protein diet and a couple
Mm-hmm.
strength training sessions per week that don't need to take more than 30 minutes, but they can go longer if you enjoy it. That's enough to
Mm-hmm.
get your body going. And I really couldn't think of a better investment in longevity than spending two 30-minute sessions per week of doing some strength training. And if we
Uh-huh.
really understood how important it was for all of these facets, it
Uh-huh.
would become a non-negotiable. Now,
Yeah.
figuring out what to do, that's
Yeah, I
can
was
be a
just
little
gonna say.
confusing, right? I mean, and
Yep.
that's where
Yep.
getting help is good. So you don't have to like figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
This is what I do professionally and why we've had so many men and women come to our programs to get help and
Mm-hmm.
exact clarity on this is what you do step by step. Because otherwise, that's where a lot of people get hung up. Oh, I think I know I should exercise, but do I just go to the gym and use the
Yeah.
machines? Or I don't want to go to the gym. What do I do if I only have some weights at home? So
Uh-huh.
having a clear plan is important. And the exercises
Mm-hmm.
that you do can be modified in a way that they feel good on joints,
Mm-hmm.
shoulders, knees, back, and things that there's safer ways to exercise as we get older. But strength training itself, conceptually, if it's not in your routine right now, and that's the one change you make in this upcoming year, your health will
Mm-hmm.
benefit phenomenally. So I want to urge that for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's better now for younger women, but women were never, at least when I was growing up, women were never, not pushed. I don't mean it
Yeah, for
that
sure.
way.
It wasn't
But
culturally a thing.
no, no, no. I mean, I used to go to the gym. Even my mom used to go to the gym. I was, you know, um, but but I, not to the same degree.
Hmm.
Women, girls didn't play in very many sports, and so there wasn't that outlet.
Yeah, I'm glad that's changed because
Yeah,
especially, I would say of every combination of age and women, men, population that should be strength training, it's women over 50 is probably the ones that could use it the most, especially when
yeah,
estrogen levels are declining so tremendously
yeah.
and you want to try to balance your hormones and then you lose the protective effect of that estrogen on your bones and your heart, your
Mm,
metabolism gets wacky, your sleep gets dysregulated. Like strength training helps fix that. It taps into your body's hormone and vitality capacity and it builds
mm.
your strength back up. So it's really
Wow.
cool. And it doesn't need to be super intense. It can be things like holding some weights and doing some squats, doing some
Hmm.
curls, doing some shoulder presses, some rows.
Hmm.
Just like we have these bodies, they move in these different planes in space. We just need to
Uh-huh.
be able to do those things with some resistance. And
Uh-huh.
that's the cool thing. And I'll also say the balance too. The balance is, as you've noticed, you have this tendency to kind of drag your feet. I think a lot of people can probably relate to that. That's going to be really tied to our mental health and well-being as we age. Because what's
Mm.
that? Well, that's just an expression of something, a function of the body that is called proprioception, where
Hmm.
basically in our awareness, we know where our limbs are in space. And so
Mm.
really good
Mm.
athletes have the best proprioception. That's how like they can catch a football like with one hand
Yeah.
by reaching up and they don't even need to look at it. Like it's a phenomenal
Hmm.
proprioception. As we
Yeah.
age, we start to lose that. So we need to work on it. And this is why
Hmm.
exercises that train balance are very, very good. Doing things where you're doing single leg exercises. I
Mm.
think even taking your shoes off too more and getting your feet on the ground so you
Ah,
actually reconnect
okay.
proprioceptively with your feet is going to be really good for building
Wow.
up your feet muscles and your glutes and just being in space because a lot of us wear these super padded disconnected shoes and it actually makes our brains a little bit weaker because we're not getting that proprioceptive feedback as we get older. So just some things to think about. Balance, and
Yeah.
the way we do it is we incorporate the balance into the strength training. So
Okay.
it's
Uh-huh.
all one thing and it's
Yeah.
nice. 30-minute workout. You get all of this a couple times a week.
Wow. Okay. And is it something that people can do at home or
Yeah.
do they need to?
A
Yeah.
pair, all you need
Okay.
is a pair of dumbbells. We even have body weight versions and band versions, but yes.
Uh,
So yes, all like we always give versions of our workouts that are completely done at home. And we also have some gym versions as well with more equipment. But the key thing is to find what works for you and what you can
uh-huh.
stick to. And then I'll say too, it's just the more time you can spend outside, seasonally permitting, is
Mm.
very good for longevity
Hmm.
because we tend to be more relaxed when we're outside. Blood pressure levels go down, stress levels go down. Obviously, the sunshine, the fresh air, the light,
Mm.
and all of that. But
Yeah.
to beat the animals and the humans that live the longest, they maintain a relaxed parasympathetic tone. The stressed
Okay.
sympathetic tone of the nervous system is actually what shortens our life. It's what raises our blood pressure. It's what raises our cortisol, raises our blood
Uh-huh.
sugar levels. We're responding to
Um,
stress. And when we're responding to stress, our body actually suppresses our immune strength because it's not thinking about long-term immune protection and repair. It's thinking about, I have a
right,
short-term issue to deal with. And if we
right.
have this chronic stress scenario, you're basically taxing your lifeline. And I think getting back and
Mm-hmm.
reconnected to the outside in nature and to our
Mm-hmm.
families, anything that
Mm-hmm.
reconnects us is going to be a key to longevity.
No, that makes a lot of sense. That
Hmm.
definitely makes a lot of sense because otherwise, one-off things never work for anything, not for diet, not for exercise. It's
Yes.
not the way humans are built.
Yes, and what you just said is so true. Not the way we were built. So my premise is this, and I think you've discovered this in your own life too, is
Mm,
we are healthy when we live in accordance to the way we were built, which I will
mm-hmm,
call natural law, which
mm-hmm,
means we're meant to drink a lot of water. Our bodies are 70% water. Very
mm-hmm,
poetically, this planet is around 70% water. We're meant to eat natural, non-processed foods. We're meant to have sunshine and great social connections. We're meant
mm-hmm,
to move our bodies daily and intermittently move our bodies very hard with activity. We're
mm-hmm.
meant to have great connections with one another and not be glued to technology, but to use technologies as
Yeah,
tools for us, right?
right.
And so
Mm-hmm,
that's like the high level. And then the art of it is how we each individually apply this into our families. And that's where the
okay.
rubber meets the road
Uh-huh.
and making it sustainable. So part of that is mindset and understanding why this is important and the motivational aspect. Part of this is just having a really good daily routine that you can stick to long term.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. No, and that makes sense. And um, the other thing that came to mind when you were just saying that is to change things up a little bit every once in a while, though, because otherwise it does become too routine,
Yes, for sure.
right? And people are like, do I have to do that again? Oh no.
I agree with you.
So,
Change up
yeah.
your meals every once in a while. Leverage the seasons of where you live. It's warmer outside. Go use those hiking trails that are around
Yeah.
there, or get outside, or it's colder outside. Okay, maybe you do exercise on an indoor bike, or you do some
Uh-huh.
strength training workouts you found from Fit Father or Fit Mother Project, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's good. There's always variety, as they say, is the spice of life, and we have the opportunity to kind of continuously do
Yeah.
that. And then I guess the other aspect is I think there are certain supplements that are legitimately good after 50 to improve health, and they're not
Mm-hmm.
fancy supplements, they're the basics. It is good to get omega 3s into your diet, and obviously your
Mm-hmm.
breakfast is phenomenal. You don't even need to supplement with omega 3s because you get that.
I do anyways, but
Okay,
yeah.
it's good. But yes, so you want the omega 3s. They're so good for your heart health and your brain health.
Yeah.
But it is, the research does show, even getting 2 to 3 servings of that cold water fatty fish, the salmon or the
Mm-hmm.
sardines, is enough to give you great benefits. But supplementing
Mm-hmm.
omega 3s are very good. The vitamin D, I think, is massively important. I think that there is a good benefit to taking a natural anti-inflammatory compound,
Mm,
like omega 3s are, but I think some turmeric or curcumin is a
mm,
is a very good natural compound. Turmeric is the spice that we all see that we cook with in a lot of Indian foods. It has active compounds in them called curcuminoids, and these
mm-hmm.
are amazing. They reduce inflammation. They help with brain health. They help with gut health. They're just like they help with joint pain. So like
Mm-hmm.
getting these at least one good natural anti-inflammatory into your life is good because after 50, a lot of people turn to Advil or any kind of
Mm,
non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs to manage pain and achiness, and that will long-term deteriorate your health.
mm-hmm.
And it's not what you want to do. There are more natural solutions for that. Start to eat more ginger. Cook with more ginger. It is a
Yeah.
wonderful anti-inflammatory compound. Um, yeah, and I mean, and then I guess like everything you can do to improve your digestive health and function is going to be
Mm-hmm.
very beneficial as you age. This means getting some kind of probiotics into your diet, and this may be through
Mm-hmm.
fermented foods.
Mm-hmm.
Sauerkraut is one that I tend to eat
Mm.
quite a bit.
Yep.
But
So do we.
you can also get prebiotic fiber from your fruits and vegetables. It feeds your good gut
Mm-hmm.
bacteria, so that's wonderful. And probiotic supplements could be helpful. I don't think there's something you need to take long term. There's something you can take to be very corrective and get your, if you know you have some
Mm.
digestive issues, they can be very
Uh-huh.
corrective. And once you establish a good routine,
Yeah.
your ecosystem can survive with good healthy foods. But if you're someone who is eating non-organic wheat, or you have any sensitivity to wheat and dairy, corn or soy, and you're eating those on a regular basis, it's going to be hurting your digestive health, and ultimately that's a big factor in your overall health.
Mm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, and I'll just throw out there that from my own personal experience, but that typically, especially if you're not eating organic wheat,
Mm-hmm.
most people can't digest it very well.
For sure.
So find something else or mix it together. If you're going to have wheat, you know, mix it with some oats or some whatever, corn, whatever it happens to be, and don't eat so much of the wheat.
And I'll speak to that. I mean, maybe some of the specifics of
Mm-hmm.
that, like wheat is a food that many of us grew up on, but like
Mm-hmm.
wheat today, the modern wheat is not the same thing. And it's unfortunately can be
Right.
quite
Yep.
unhealthy. It's been hybridized and genetically modified in the sense that we're trying to make a stronger, shorter, faster growing plant with higher yields.
Yes. Oh
And in
my
the
God.
process, we changed the genetics of the wheat and it got a lot more
Mm-hmm.
complicated. There is so much more genetic information, chromosomes in the modern wheat, and that actually changes
Mm.
how the gluten and the glutenin proteins are.
Oh,
They're just not
yeah.
nearly as digestible. So the most ancient wheat that we know of is called einkorn,
Right.
Einkorn, and it's so different from the modern wheat that people who are literally have a severe allergy to wheat, like celiac
Uh-huh.
disease,
Uh-huh.
can often eat einkorn wheat. It is that
Huh.
different.
I'll have to
Um,
try it.
it's not as readily available, but it's there. And I mean, there's also, like you said, buckwheat is something that you've had, and there's other ancient grains and ancient wheats that could be beneficial. The other
Mm-hmm.
problem with non-organic wheat, right, is this whole idea of the pesticide glyphosate, which is
Yes.
sprayed on that wheat. And it's also sprayed on a lot of other foods, even oats, because it's a drying agent that is used
Mm.
for basically drying out crop yields. But the
Mm-hmm.
problem with that is it literally destroys your health on multiple levels. It
Mm-hmm.
really harms your gut microbiome. It can cause leakiness in your digestive tract, which leads to inflammation. It can harm your blood vessels in those precious arteries, which your body lays down plaques to help repair. So glyphosate is some nasty stuff, and it is pretty much ubiquitous with modern wheat. So the genetics are a
Mm-hmm.
problem as well as the pesticides. So organic ancient wheat can be a part. And this is why I really think a lot of people find freedom inside of our fit father and fit mother approach, is because
Mm.
we tell them to buy something like organic Ezekiel bread, which is a
Yeah.
commercially available, much healthier bread.
My husband eats that.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you toast that thing up, you can make a sandwich on that, and it's
Uh-huh.
1,000 times better.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
think there's another level, einkorn and something like that would be even better in my opinion. But Ezekiel bread's commercially available. It's probably in your local store. Upgrade your
Yes,
bread,
it
you're going to
is.
feel so much better.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
you can still have a sandwich. You can still have an egg
Yeah.
on a sandwich. You can still have salmon on a sandwich. Like you still can
Ham.
have all these things. Ham sandwich, whatever kind of sandwich floats your boat. Even a organic
Yeah.
peanut butter sandwich. So
There you
this
go.
that's very freeing once you know you have these upgraded staples in
Mm-hmm.
your life.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's it's so much easier. I mean, I know when I had to go off of all this stuff, you know, none of these things were available.
Yeah, we have a lot of
Uh,
resources now versus when you experience your
oh yeah.
intolerances.
I had to go to the Asian part of town and go to the Japanese and Chinese stores
Mm-hmm.
to get rice noodles and
Yeah, yeah.
um oh yeah, no, absolutely. We couldn't find it. Well, Whole Foods wasn't even in existence. So, you know.
Another nutritional thing that could be helpful is getting more broths and stews into your life as you get older.
Ah,
Collagen
okay.
proteins are what make up our connective tissue, and there's many
Mm,
different types. And like what we basically lose collagen as we age,
mm-hmm.
and that can result in wrinkles and joint pain and
Oh yeah.
feeling stiffness and dehydrated. And collagen is one of these main proteins that
Mm-hmm.
works with water to create the proper fluid dynamics and mobility in our bodies and gives us the function and appearance of more youth. And so we can
Uh-huh.
get these through supplements, but you can also get these through bone broths. So if you can make some
Mm,
beef bone broths or get some chicken feet and make a bone broth. And I don't
mm,
know if anyone's interested in that, but I'm telling you, this is like some deeply good nutrition for you and very
mm-hmm.
longevity focused nutrition. bioavailable. You put a pot on on a big like stew pot on the stove, throw in a bunch of chicken feet, throw in some kind of broth or water if you want to throw any kind of veggies in there too, and just let that sucker simmer. And you do that, you're going to be getting this wonderful nutrition that you wouldn't get anywhere else but through the connective tissue and the collagen proteins, and it will
Yeah.
help your life for sure.
Yeah. Interesting. And very interesting. Hmm. Okay. Well, I will ask you more about that after we get done.
Sounds good.
Um, so I think we're almost at the hour over.
Mhm.
Not over, but at the hour.
Yeah.
Um, so um, why don't you tell everybody, and I will also put it in the show notes, not that that many people look at show notes these days, but tell everybody where they can find your products isn't the right word, but programs.
Sure. So
Yeah.
first off, I enjoy our time today, and I hope if someone's
Yeah.
still listening, they found this valuable. We have everything that I discussed distilled down into like the most simple to follow way. Like, here's the meal plan, here's the exercise, step by step, walk
Ah,
you through.
okay.
And
Good.
that's what we have inside of our Fit Father Project and Fit Mother programs. The
Okay.
websites where you can learn more about those programs and sign
Hmm.
up and become a member is fitfatherproject.com or
Okay.
fitmotherproject.com. So all of those
Okay.
exactly as they sound. And if you're someone also, so I recommend you go to the websites, and at the very least, we have some free meal plans and free workouts. If you join our email list, we'll
Ah,
send those to you. So that's a good
okay.
place to get started. But our programs are world class. And I'm happy to say, and I can legitimately say this, we have the most success stories of any program for people over 50 online.
Wow.
So we
Wow.
know we
That's
have
impressive.
a good program that works. And then our YouTube
Uh-huh.
channels too are good resources.
Oh.
If you like watching videos, we have a bunch of really great videos, and you can search Fit Father Project or Fit Mother Project on YouTube.
Ah, okay. So it's a project. Okay. .com. Oh, but
Yes.
it wouldn't be .com. Is it
Yeah,
.com?
fitfatherproject.com or fitmotherproject.com. And if you're on YouTube, you can just type in
Okay.
Fit Father Project, Fit
Fit
Mother
father.
Project. Mm-hmm.
Okay. 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 Sounds good. Well, I can always listen to this again and write it down. So, okay. Well, let me thank you so much for being on. It's been great. Lots of
Likewise.
lots of good information for me, lots of good validation.
Good.
Um, and with that, I will say that neither of us are doctors, even though you are a doctor, but we're not allowed to give out advice on Zoom.
Yes.
So, but if you're interested, definitely go and see the Fit Father and Fit Mother sites and YouTube. And with that, I will say that I will see everybody next week.
Thank you, Susan.